Yeah, I mean, I've always donated with rescues, and I had never actively volunteered, which I know we'll get to later in the conversation.
Yeah.
But I was always, especially thanks to social media, becoming aware of more and more rescues and fundraisers, and let's go support these guys over here. So I was.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Lifeline Podcast. Today we have Fox on with us. Really excited to have Fox with us. She is a big animal advocate and supports lots of different organizations within our community, mostly out of Galveston Island, and we'll get more into that. But thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Yeah, just excited to talk with you. Something that really has made you stand out to me is your ability to place large dogs, which I know we'll talk a lot about. So thank you. And for that's a really tough one. So I feel like you figured that out really fast, which is impressive.
Well, every day is a new learning ability, opportunity. So
awesome. Well, do you want to just start? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in animal rescue? I saw your post earlier, so
yeah, that was when people ask what's the dog, or what got you into rescue.
Yeah.
I had been engaging in what I would now know is called independent rescue, which I didn't have a term for back in the day.
Yeah.
But I would say about 2015. There were several instances where I'd see one, for instance, in my neighborhood, there was a dog kept on a chain, a little blue pitty, and I ended up buying the dog from the guy and getting him into a home, another adopted home, just to get him out of that situation. But the animal that started it all really is a German Shepherd named Rambo, and it was 2018. We were still living in Houston in the Montrose area. Earlier in the day, I had a friend that ran a German Shepherd rescue, and they were posting about this dog that had been beaten, locked in a shed, and abandoned because the husband and wife apparently split up. The dog was with the husband in Cyprus. We're in Montrose in Houston. Mm-hmm. And somehow the neighbors knew this, and that's what got the ball rolling. So the rescue posted about this urgent situation, and that the guy moved out of the house that day with the beaten dog locked in a shed.
Oh my gosh.
But the funny thing was, this post went viral, as posts do, and there was a lot of engagement on the post, but no one would tell you where the dog was. Yeah. So I just kept going back and saying, I will go get the dog if you let me know where the dog is. They were just giving me a subdivision name. And the funny part of the story is that one of the women that knew my friend and her rescue messaged her and said, is she legit or is she just crazy? Oh my gosh, yeah. So my friend said, well, both at times, but she's absolutely legit. So it was later in the day. We were actually having a dinner party at our house with just another couple. And I got the text with the address finally. So from Montrose in Houston, off we go about 8:30 at night to Cyprus, which, is a jaunt.
Was it the whole couple? Did the whole crew come, or was it just you?
It was me and my husband.
Okay.
Yeah. And a bit, covert operation, if you will. Good. So they gave us the address. The ex-wife had gotten involved. So the ex-wife had gotten him out of the shed.
Good.
And I told her, look, I'm not getting out of the car because, safety at risk and all. We were already being ballsy enough, if I can say that on your podcast.
Yes.
So I told my husband, keep the car at a slow roll, and I'm in the back seat, fly the door open. She throws the dog in. It was quite a process, and she signed the paperwork over to the rescue, so it was legitimately transferred.
Yeah.
We got our own vet to see the dog the next day, and the dog has gone on to be adopted and living his best life. He's with a husband and wife, and they have a young boy. So I haven't seen updates in a while, but I used to get pictures from the beach and pictures out walking and hiking, and so Rambo has gone on to live his best life.
That's amazing. What a good story. Okay. And you said before that you kind of were doing just
Yeah, I
rescue
mean, I've
missions?
always donated with rescues, and I had never actively volunteered, which I know we'll get to later in the conversation.
Yeah.
But I was always, especially thanks to social media, becoming aware of more and more rescues and fundraisers, and let's go support these guys over here. So I was already doing that.
Yeah.
About the time that Rambo came on board, and the first rescue I ever really got involved with and was a board member for a brief amount of time was Corridor Rescue in
Oh,
Houston.
yeah.
And I love those guys. I'm actually on their fundraising committee for their casino night that comes up in September. So I'm still, helping them in ways. But that was the first rescue I got my feet on the ground with around the same time.
Yeah. I see them. I don't know much about them, but I see them on social media, and they do some awesome work. They pull from like really tough area of Houston, right?
Well, yes. So first of all, they have a very strong feeder program. They have people that go out every day and feed the dogs in what we call the corridor of cruelty in Houston.
Yeah.
And this is a big dumping ground for dogs, a lot of pitties, and everything else that you can imagine.
Is there like a reason for it being that area?
It's just a tough area of town where,
Yeah.
unfortunately, there are people that still like to engage in dog fighting.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of dump dogs, a lot of bred dogs that are dumped, and a lot of bait dogs that are dumped.
Okay.
So they are just constantly battling what I say, or what I refer to as the worst of the worst conditions.
Mm-hmm.
They're not getting the cute little fluffy dog that
Right.
everybody wants. They're getting the big, older, abused, and beat up dogs, and they are doing some super transformative work. I don't know if you saw the story about Jericho 2 weeks ago.
I did.
So Jericho is with
That was the one under all that
trash
and like,
dumped like trash.
furniture.
Yes, absolutely dire
Terrible.
situation.
Yeah.
And the community response to that was amazing. And he is in a foster home with one of the board members at Corridor Rescue.
Yeah.
And thriving,
Amazing.
doing really well.
I definitely saw that. And it is good to see that response. But I mean, we still see so much cruelty in the area, and we can jump around, but I know that that's something that you've been involved in recently. I've seen is kind of getting more into that. Do you want to speak about that and kind of like what inspired you?
Well, I mean, just the need.
Yeah.
I it's distressing to me when you see some of these polls on social media about people that take action and people that don't take action. So I would always like to think I am of the ilk that takes action, and that's what we need more of in this world. You see the need. You cannot ignore a sentient being in need like that.
Definitely. Okay, cool. And then what brought you to Galveston, and what influenced you to, start working with Galveston Island?
Well, let me back up just briefly to say when we were in Houston, when my husband and I were living in Houston, I got, and we'll probably get to this a little bit more in depth. I think it's one of your other questions, but I began really fostering with Rescued Pets Movement, which is outside the Heights area in Houston,
I'm very aware,
which is a really great program to be involved with if you're a new foster, because you're not allowed to adopt the animals, even if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And you generally only keep the animals approximately a week or less, unless they are having a surgery or they're getting over a kennel cough or something of that nature. So it's
they transport to other rescues, right? Or
yes, so they have a lot of sister rescues that they work with, mainly on the East Coast.
Sure.
And so they transport dogs and cats weekly. There's a transport for cats and a transport for dogs on Tuesdays and Thursdays each week, and that's
they're one of the most, in kind of like a rescue nerdy way. I did a lot of research into this last year. They're one of the most efficient rescues.
It's a well-oiled machine. Yeah. It was a wonderful way to really get your feet wet with fostering, because you learn so much so fast.
Yeah.
And we'll probably talk about this later, because we do have a multi-animal home, and fostering with multi and dogs and cats can be an interesting situation, but we'll talk about the fostering part of that later. My husband and I had a beach house in Galveston, technically not on the beach, but on 8th and Broadway, old historic tiny home, and we sold it in 2021, I believe. And then my husband was retiring again. He's had a lot of retirements,
Yeah.
and he's still not fully retired. But that was when we decided to make the leap to move to Galveston.
Okay.
And once we got on the island, we don't have Galveston Island Humane Society is it for us on the island.
Sure.
The only other, and I could be wrong, but the only other rescue that I became aware of like less than a year ago is people that work for Dream Dachshund Rescue out there.
Oh, okay.
So that's not even, I don't even know that anybody knows that. But as
I
far
didn't know
as,
they were on the island.
you know, in Houston, especially in Houston proper, there's a rescue almost on every street corner at this point, you know?
Yeah.
And in Galveston, the Galveston Island Humane Society is it. So
Yeah.
I, within the first week of being there, went up there and said, hey, here I am. And they gave me the dog that I call, her name was Annie, but you'll hear me sometimes say or make a post about an Annie dog. And Annie was an overlooked large breed shepherd mix and the perfect dog. No one knew how she had been up. She'd been up there a long time. And I took her home, and to make a long story short, she ended up going to my sister-in-law in Florida.
Oh,
So an Annie dog is like the world's perfect dog that gets overlooked.
Yeah. Okay. Beautiful. So that was the first. So you started fostering when you went to.
Yeah, immediately.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and she was our first foster there.
Okay.
That was we moved there. We just had our 2-year move anniversary, so we moved there March 1st, 2 years ago.
Awesome. And I saw you said over 60 dogs since then.
I've had 65 of my own fosters adopted since then.
Wow.
That does exclude other dogs that I've helped get into rescue and things of that nature.
Yeah.
I only count dogs that have physically been in my home,
Okay.
that have been my own fosters. And I was really on a roll until around the holiday season. I've had a couple of fosters now for several months.
Okay.
And that's all fine, and it's all good. It's all
Yeah.
part of the process. But yeah, it's interesting because some dogs literally got adopted in a day. Some
Wow.
dogs got adopted in a week, in a month. But it has been unusual to have dogs the amount of time that I've had them now.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's all in divine order timing. So
Definitely. And was there anything you think special about the ones that got adopted, or like anything that was done right away, or just the timing?
I still do everything the same way.
Yeah.
I have a core belief that there's a person for every animal in need of a home.
Okay.
So I don't do anything differently. It just hasn't been their time yet. That's all I can.
Yeah.
That's all I can decide. Think about the situation, and I know this is one of your questions, but I only use Facebook.
Really?
I've never
Okay.
done the TikToks.
Yeah.
I've never done the IG. So I just, and we can talk about that later, but I just use Facebook as my platform.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, but you're also kind of like, I don't know if I'm right or wrong about this, but it seems almost like you've quickly become like a fixture in the island. So probably your social, just your general social network, is that helpful, or is it mostly like random people that are?
No, you know, the key is asking people to share it.
Okay.
The key
Yeah.
is helping people realize what I just said to you, that there's a person for every animal.
Yeah.
And reminding people consistently that they're sharing the post helps animals find homes.
Yeah.
When people realize, I have a good friend who just started fostering for the first time ever yesterday. And she was one of the first people, shout out to Tracy, that really took that message to heart about, hey, I have my own network. So it's not just my people seeing this. I mean, sure, some of my friends have adopted these animals,
Yeah.
but it's the magic of social media.
Okay.
Everyone taking that post and reaching out to their own audience.
Yeah. And then do you think there's anything about like maybe time, like how fast you respond to people, or the information you're getting?
Immediacy always.
Yeah.
Because
So-
you've got to strike while the iron is hot with
Yeah.
people. You know, there's some that'll wait, but most times if someone's looking for a dog and they're interested in that dog, and I used to foster a lot of cats, but since the move, we do still have 7 rescued cats in our cattery. But
Yeah.
since the move, it's just been dogs, and I just try to do everything as
Yeah.
soon as it comes in.
Fair. Okay, cool. Okay, so this is the next question. Over 60 dogs in just 2 years, what motivates you to just keep them rolling in?
because I know every time I pull a dog from the shelter, that makes space for the next dog to come in and helps to find them a home.
Yeah.
And that's the whole game.
Yeah.
That's the whole game. The Galveston Island Humane Society is a city-run shelter. It's not privately funded. It's city-funded, but with donations.
Yeah.
And we cannot turn animals away at a city shelter.
Yeah.
So it's open admission. So we are constantly bombarded. We've got dogs and cats.
Animal control too, is they're picking up animals. And
Absolutely. Every day. As soon as we get some out, more come in through the door.
Yeah.
So it is, we're overwhelmed. Absolutely. And I just feel like that's the least I can do is get an animal out.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And okay, so I still remember when you built a virtual auction from scratch for us. We raised over $3,000. We were struggling. You didn't know us at all. You just kind of called up and were like, "Hey, how can I help?" What motivates you to do something like that? Like, what made you want to step in and help us? Because I'm sure you do this with a lot of, maybe not that specifically, but you help out a lot of organizations.
Well, I want to give props to you first.
Okay.
Because your videos were very moving.
Okay.
And
okay,
I think that really was a call to action. And I'm good at fundraising. I've worked in fundraising with rescues for a long time now.
Yeah.
I won Elite Pet Owner this past year for the Paws Gala, which means I brought the most money in through silent auction items and donations and sponsorships and ticket sales. So I brought in just under $50,000 alone.
Whoa.
In value. So I saw your plea and my heartstrings were pulled and I thought, hey, the least I can do is help. And I have amazing friends that have wonderful businesses. And a lot of those people donated things from their businesses because they realize that's an opportunity for them to get seen as well.
Yeah.
You know, product placement, right? And help save animals at the same time. So that's why I wanted to help you guys out.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I knew any of you guys. So
no, not at all. And I was like, "Who is this person?" And then I'm like,
"Is she crazy or is she legit?"
Yeah. No, and I was like, maybe both. No, right? But it was super awesome. And I mean, it was like that at that time. I was so overwhelmed. There was so much going on, and like we really needed money, but like I was still doing animal care. So just to have that essentially put together without us really having to do anything was amazing. So thank you.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
And what is your thought just in general then about community support and animal welfare and like its importance for there to be people like you to step in to help organizations like ours or the island or anyone?
Well, we have to have help. We cannot survive without community support. And I think when people realize that they can do the smallest things and benefit in whatever capacity they have, time-wise, financially, whatever it is, everyone has something they can bring to the table. And, it reminds me of the slogan that we always use in rescue, which is, if you can't adopt, foster. If you can't foster, volunteer.
Yeah.
If you can't volunteer, donate. If you can't donate,
educate,
and engage and share the post on social media. So, that's kind of just basics, but everybody can do something to help raise awareness and get involved.
Yeah. And it all matters, and it can make such a big difference. So we kind of touched on it, but can you tell us your secret sauce for getting your foster dogs adopted?
I think the secret sauce really at the end of the day is consistency with posting on social media, because that's really how it happens for these animals.
Yeah.
And getting good pictures. And again, I told you I don't do TikTok or Instagram, so I don't do the cute, fun videos with the songs in the background. But any types of videos, and especially pictures of the animal in your home,
okay,
with miscellaneous things in the background removed, deleted from the picture, cropped, edited, good face shots, pictures of that animal with children and or other animals. You have to subconsciously get people seeing that animal in your home.
Yeah.
And seeing that animal on a walk with you or whatever it is. So consistency in posting, making sure your posts are set to public and asking people to share, and reminding people that their sharing helps those animals find homes. that's really, I mean, it's so basic. It's not even a secret sauce.
That's good. But do you do anything at home with them, like behavior wise, to work on?
Well, I just got back
manners
from a training. I just did my first official dog training with
Awesome.
Catch Canine Training Academy in New Jersey. Just got home
Whoa.
Saturday night. It was a week-long intensive because I thought to myself, gee, if I'm going to foster all these animals for longer than a week, like RPM,
Yeah.
I should be able to train them in some basics to make them more highly adoptable.
Yeah.
So honestly, I've just started my journey doing that. A lot of shelter dogs, fortunately, come in with a sit.
Yeah.
That's something that a lot of them come in with.
Yeah.
But reactivity and things like that are things I'm just now working on because I now have the tools.
Yeah.
I hadn't gotten there in my journey yet. Now here I am.
That's awesome. But I mean, I think that still goes to show like 60 dogs without really any like crazy training
Right.
stuff. That's, yeah. I mean, that goes to show the dogs are not bad dogs. You know?
Exactly. And, I think our house, we have, hopefully the city isn't hearing this. We have 5 of our own dogs, but we have 3 Chihuahuas, all rescues, and 2 senior pit mixes, all rescues. So I also think socialization is key for these shelter animals. Some people don't have dogs or cats and they foster, and that's great too.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that the dog ultimately has to learn how to live nicely with these other dogs. There's really only been 2 dogs that I ever had to return because of a high prey drive in my Chihuahuas.
Okay.
So that was, prey drives are, you notice that right away. So there's not a lot of lag time on that.
Yeah.
So really in the history of fostering and for the shelter there, I think there's only been 2 dogs that just I knew was not going to be a fit. And at the end of the day, you have to put your animals as the priority. Absolutely. Obviously. So statistically, that's pretty impressive though, that there's only 2 that I knew couldn't be a fit.
That is, yeah. And I personally have 5 foster dogs right now, and I at one point had just like a single dog at a time. I personally have a dog, Bogart, who has gotten me into trouble a lot of times. He's very dog aggressive. And so he's old now. I don't really try to even introduce him. But what I found is having like extra dogs actually was helpful because they kind of keep each other in line. Like I don't have to do much. Yeah. We kind of like the first, week or 2 is kind of like, all right, let's learn the routine and everything. But now, they kind of, there is something about that dog to dog thing.
Dynamic. Yeah. We had, one of those dogs that were difficult to introduce, and I'm regretful to say I was one of those people that years ago said, "Oh, I can never foster. I have a difficult dog."
Yeah.
When you learn some tools of the trade, like how to introduce dogs properly.
Sure.
I mean, there's different ways people do it, but I mean, you can't just say your dog's not dog friendly if you don't try some of these techniques.
Oh, yeah.
Feeding separately.
Yeah.
The whole 9 yards. There's some really simple things that if people just become aware of what the tricks to the trade are, then they can hopefully make it happen and become a foster.
That's true. And also, like, my dog, he, like, inflicted multiple bites upon people that resulted from dog things. And we went to training and stuff. So I kind of got to the point where I was like, it's not worth it to me or for me to put him in that position, because now I feel like he would start something he couldn't finish and get himself hurt, which he has done before. And so, but now I'm like, well, like I still was able to make it work. I still manage. He has a good life. We just have our routine. He doesn't go out with them. So I think even if you have like, I call him my like serial killer dog, to be honest. But he's on like
affectionately.
He protects me. It's fine. And he's not aggressive towards people outright. It really is something with other dogs. But even with that, I've managed to foster dogs and just have that routine. And I definitely don't think he's like one of the typical dogs. I think I kind of got, whatever. Yeah. It worked for me at the time, but definitely not the average. Most dogs get along with other dogs. They can make it work.
They're pack animals, which is what's really hard, especially hard for them in a shelter environment.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Not to sidetrack, but just to throw this out there in case it's helpful for anyone. The training that I just got back from in New Jersey, we were doing the training at St. Hubert's. I don't know if you're familiar with them, in New Jersey, and
Okay.
it's a shelter.
Oh, okay, cool.
And they co-house most of their dogs.
Really?
And they have the
I could
data to
see
back
that.
it up on statistically how much happier it makes the dogs
Mm-hmm.
and how more highly adoptable it makes the dogs because they're coexisting, socializing, and not as lonely.
They also tire each other out.
Yeah.
They play with each other.
Yeah.
Have you done anything with Dogs Playing for Life? I know I mentioned them to you recently. Have you heard of them? Or?
I have not until you
Yeah.
mentioned them.
I think they're so cool, and that is really what opened my eyes to the importance of dogs playing when I was at county, working at county, and I just saw these dogs would like lose their mind, and there's no way. It's often hard to have enough volunteers to come in to spend the one-on-one time. County at times had over 100 dogs, so that's even like, you're like, how do you get 100 dogs out adequately socialized, you know? And so then Dogs Playing for Life was brought to my attention, and their whole model is, I think their slogan is every dog, every day. And they have them come into play groups. They go around to different shelters, and they give them the tools to safely put on these play groups and how to assess dogs quickly and to get them into the group. And then, of course, at the end of the day, there's always a chance a fight could happen. So how do you handle that? That's their whole model, but it was so great because those types of play groups, you can get all the dogs out every day, and they
That's
can play
amazing.
together, and their behaviors are a lot better. But I could imagine co-housing would also be really beneficial.
I mean, it was amazing to see. Apparently, I kind of remember when we first moved here, there were some dogs at our shelter that were co-housed, and I don't know what happened to it, but they got rid of that,
Yeah.
and now we're in discussion with. We lost our executive director not too long ago,
Yeah.
so we're in a little bit of a flux mode right now. But we are bringing these ideas up. We have a trainer that
Good.
is our in-house trainer, if you will. So that's just part of the discussion.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. I mean, there's always liability stuff, and
Yeah.
but I mean, unfortunately, if there's anything I've learned with animals is there's always a risk. You just have to have good insurance. Like,
Yeah,
there's not really
right,
anything
and-
you can do to 100%.
And if
mitigate
you
that.
know, if you're in the worst case scenario position of a dog going nuts and crossing the mental Rubicon,
Yeah.
where they may never come back, then you've got to try other things. You
Right.
gotta deploy other methods and see if it works.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's something a dog in solitary confinement
Yeah,
post a week or two is not going to be good.
right.
For
And
that.
we still have tons of dogs lined up in hallway crates that get out 3 times a day.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
reality of a city shelter, because we only have so many dog
Yeah,
runs.
like that's not unique.
And
unfortunately.
then they have so many other issues because they've been living like that. You
Yeah,
know?
and then you're like, oh, this dog has behavior problems. And you're like, well, how much of it is a behavior
Right.
problem? How much is it they've been sitting in a crate for
Yeah.
weeks,
Right.
you know? So,
Yeah.
absolutely. We talked about that you use Facebook for your fostering to get everybody out. Sorry, I just changed topics really
That's okay.
fast there. How do you juggle the fostering with everything else you have going on in your life?
I think of them as just part of the household. I think
Yeah.
that's the easiest way to do it. Everybody's on the same schedule with eating and sleeping and all that sort of thing. So I'm sure people do it different ways, but that's the way it works for our house because we have.
They just kind of fit into the routine.
Yeah, they fit into the routine.
Yeah.
And, for instance, I had a massage client just before I came here to see you. So,
Okay.
every house is different. Our Chihuahuas like to spend all their time in our bedroom
Yeah.
when we're not around. That's just their hangout zone. Our 2 older pit bulls like to hang out in the living room. That's their safe zone.
Yeah.
We have our cats. We're fortunate. We have our third level of our house is our cattery. So I don't have to worry about mixing cats with dogs these days, which is
Yeah.
great. But they have a whole floor to themselves, so I don't have to worry about that. And then the fosters are generally in the kitchen side of the house, if you will. So everybody kind of has their places.
Yeah.
And that's just how it works best for us. Of course, feeding time is, quite the process with 7 dogs and 7 cats, but just line them all up and pretend you're a line cook in a restaurant.
Yeah. definitely. That's so funny. But actually, we had one of our fosters, Andy, on, and she actually said the exact same thing. She's like, just add it into your routine. It's just part of the routine, and what's one more, and especially if some people are able to add in that expense as well, which is always helpful to a shelter or rescue, but most places now offer the supplies as well, so you don't have to worry about extra food or
right.
So that's always good too.
I think anything that we can do to help with the feeling of being overwhelmed with a new foster is great.
Yeah.
Like, explaining, hey, just what's the one more philosophy, and providing them with whatever they may need to say yes to doing this is critical. Because if there's, I always say fostering is my hill to die on. Because people
we're talking about they go crazy in the shelter. They don't go crazy in foster.
Right.
They're part of a environment that's natural and normal to them. Yeah.
And I think people are just largely uneducated about what fostering is.
Yeah.
And I know this may be one of your questions, but I'll just share it since we're on the topic now. I can't speak for every rescue and shelter because they all do it differently, but I'm willing to bet that most of them will take a foster for however long they can take them.
Yeah.
I mean, we always tell people at the shelter, look, we have a borrow a bestie, which is where you can take a dog out for a day, an hour, 4 hours, 5 hours. We've got cage break weekends where you can take a dog for a weekend.
Yeah.
Or you've got people like me that try to do foster to adoption, meaning I try to keep them until they get adopted. So even if it's an hour a day, getting them out of the shelter, getting better pictures of them rather than the mug shot that they get when they're scared when they first come to the shelter makes all the difference. Mm-hmm. Even if you can't take a dog out, go to the shelter, take pictures and videos of dogs, take them outside to the yard, whatever you can do, and give that information, of course, to the shelters that they can use it, but post it yourself on social media, ask people to share, set your settings to public so it can be shared, and get the animal seen. It's all about getting the animal seen.
Yeah. Beautiful. No, that's awesome. And I like how you were like, however you want, because that's how I feel. I'm like a vacation, a sleepover, and out, whatever you want to call it,
Whatever works for, and that's the thing. I think people just don't realize what it is. So the more we can raise awareness about, hey, it's any amount of time, you know?
And if you've had a poor fostering experience, try a different organization would be also, because sometimes I hear that. And some organizations, all the organizations are different, so you might find one that is a better fit for you, just depending on what you're looking for. But
true. Yeah. And just making sure you have your questions answered, and we don't do foster orientations at the shelter right now, which I would love to do. It's just all about helping people understand that anything they can do is beneficial.
What about the big one we always hear is, well, I couldn't let him, I would never be able to let him go. But do you have an answer for that one?
I do, and it's not a very nice one.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Well, I mean, I try to, we hear that so often.
Yeah.
And it's that, or it's my husband or wife wouldn't let me.
Yeah.
Sadly, it's usually my husband wouldn't let me.
Yeah.
We'll tackle that one maybe in a moment. But the whole line about I could never do it because a friend of mine actually says it funny. She says, so I've been fostering for years and you're trying to tell me you're more compassionate than I am?
Oh my gosh.
Which I never thought of it that way.
Nails it.
But I thought that was hilarious.
Because sometimes it does, like us rescuers, it's like, ugh, like when somebody says that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's nails on the chalkboard. But what I like to say in various ways is you're being sad for a day or two is way less important than saving an animal's life.
So true. Yeah.
I mean, in what world are your feelings, your temporary feelings, a bigger deal than saving an animal's life?
I have to have that conversation with myself like all the time. I'm like, if I let my feelings get in the way of what I'm trying to do right now, we would not get anything done.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, and and I hate to say it, but it's true. I think the more you foster, the easier it becomes. Sure, there's always an animal thrown in the. I mean, if you do high volume fostering like we do, sure, there's always an animal that's like, oh, this one's going to be tough. Yeah. But hey, you know what? Try fostering, because there's going to be so many animals. You're going to be like, you were fabulous, and I can't wait for you to find your forever home. Because puppies or something, you know that.
There's just you have your cry, and then you move on.
And you move on, and again, you just have to live the mantra that for every dog you pull, another dog is saved.
Yeah, and we're still in crisis. There's still so many animals dying. That is a very, very true statement. Like, so true.
We need billboards everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, like, do you know what's happening? That's how sometimes I just want to, like, scream at people. I'm like, do you even know what is happening? Okay. What else is on here? So we talked about this earlier, but I just wanted to get your more insight on this. So I saw you recently attended the animal-related legislative meeting, and I kind of asked you what made you want to get involved with that. But what was that experience like, and what do you think people maybe misunderstand about policy work and animal welfare?
So Texas Humane Legislation Network, THLN.org. I began following them years ago. Again, I want to say like 2013, 2015, something like that. Just followed them on Facebook. And then I signed up for what they call their action alerts at THLN.org. And action alerts are emails that come to you that give you the wording.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, this bill's coming up. Please, here are your representatives. Or if you don't know your representatives, you go to Google and you say, who are my representatives? And it has you put in your address, and it spits out who your reps are.
Yeah.
Can you copy and paste this or rewrite it if you want to and email it?
Yeah.
Or call. But, emailing's easier. You can do that at 4 a.m., right, if you're up early. And that's how it all started for me. So I became an ambassador, which anyone can do.
Yeah.
Everyone can do. We want everyone to do it.
Yeah.
And once you sign up for the action alerts, you get in onto our team, and you can join our monthly Zoom calls.
Yeah.
Of course, everything's free, right? And then you learn the tricks and the trades and how to speak to your representatives.
Yeah.
You can just send emails. You can just do phone calls. You can phone bank. You can attend what I did, which is I attended the Lobby Day, Texas Humane Lobby Day. Mm-hmm. So we set up meetings with our representatives ahead of time, and you have about 15 minutes to ask them for support on certain humane legislation that we're trying to pass. So it's very simple.
Do you talk like with the representative directly?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate because I'm a bit politically involved in Galveston with a group. So I would like to say I'm friends with our state senator, Mays Middleton, who's amazing. So I actually know Mays and Terry Leo Wilson, who's our state rep. And I am fortunate in that I have their personal cell phones. So I can say, hey, I'm going to email you. Now, I know that's, the extreme level, but I'm going to email you some information we'd love your support on. And the way I tackle it, and we did just get May's support on our ethical pet sales bill, which is huge. It's our big bill to stop the puppy pipeline to Texas. And we can talk about that if we have time.
Yeah.
Because this is still going to hearing, and we need everyone reaching out to the reps about this. But I'm going to send this information to you. Please ask me questions. If for any reason we don't have your support, give us the opportunity to talk to you first so we can answer questions and help you understand where we're coming from.
Yeah.
If you don't have their personal cell phones, that's okay. We encourage people to attend. Try to meet your reps if at all possible. They're usually at city functions and stuff. That's not hard to find.
Yeah.
And or just call the office, because every phone call to a representative's office has to be logged.
Okay.
That's how this is how people make change.
Yeah.
They see a stack. Oh, all of these people called. They want the support on this bill. You could be that person. You don't have to know any of these people, but your phone call gets logged, or your email
and your
gets
email
logged.
too. Yeah.
So it can be super simple, and that was my first Humane Lobby Day to ever attend, and I love the experience because it formed such a great community of people. Mm-hmm. I don't remember exactly how many people we had there. I want to say 300 to 400, and we had a mixer the night before, so you make lifelong friends through this stuff as well.
That's amazing.
And just knowing that you can be aware not feeling like you're at the whim of other people making decisions.
Yeah.
Knowing that you can effectuate change is so enriching.
Yeah. No, so cool. And like, what do you want to see, I guess, in policy changes? And you can talk about the puppy mill thing, or like, why is it important that we do this?
Well, Texas Humane Legislation Network is all about benefiting our Texas animals.
Yeah. And these aren't like, these aren't like crazy asks. Like none of these.
No, these are not crazy asks. In fact, I'll just share with you, so you can see what no-brainers these are. The biggest bill is the ethical pet sales bill. So what happens is the puppy mill pipeline is we have breeders, and I don't have to tell your audience how horrible breeder conditions are, where they dump the mom and they live in stacked crates with filth coming down from one crate to the next.
Yeah.
They ship these dogs to pet stores here. Petland, namely in Bel Air, has been our biggest thorn in the side, and sell them to the public.
There's one in Webster too, Petland Webster.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they're selling these dogs to pet owners that then end up spending thousands of dollars and or having their pet dying because of numerous health complications. So
and those people already drop like $2,000 on these dogs a lot of times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unvetted.
So, yeah, absolutely. Unaltered, unvetted, shipped here at exorbitant cost to the consumer, really.
Yeah.
And what this bill is going to do is it's going to make it illegal for pet stores to do this.
Okay.
It's going to make it illegal for you to go to Walmart and see people selling puppies out of the back of their truck.
Yeah.
And it's not going to affect legitimate breeders. And we all know that a legitimate breed-specific breeder does their own vetting process with people. If they're, I'm not a fan of breeders. I've never owned a bred animal, but those legitimate breeders are following the law. They're vetting their own consumers. They
typically probably wouldn't mind paying a breeder fee or some licensing
and they
fee.
do. Yeah. To my knowledge.
Yeah.
So this instead has the pet stores work with local rescues to bring animals in to help with our overpopulation problem. So everyone's still going to go to the stores to buy their pet food and their harnesses, because that's one of their arguments, is it's going to shut their business down. No, it will not. It just gives them the opportunity to work hand in hand with their fellow neighbor rescues
pipeline.
in shelters and help us with the overpopulation problem. Yes.
Which is kind of what Petco and PetSmart, I would say, are
absolutely.
doing with dogs and cats.
Successfully so, yeah.
Very successfully.
The other two bills that we're trying to get past this legislative season is a no-brainer bill. Remember the spay and neuter license plates? You could buy a Texas spay and neuter license plate.
Okay, yes, yeah.
So that money is supposed to go to spay or neuter programs.
Yeah.
Well, currently there's a 40 or 45-page document that a veterinarian or a shelter has to fill out each time in order to get reimbursed. So these funds are sitting in this,
not being used.
Yeah, not being, because if they don't fill something out incorrectly, they deny it.
Yeah.
So then these veterinarians and shelters aren't wanting to perform the surgeries because they're not getting paid for it. Yeah. So this is going to streamline that whole process and get rid of this 45-page document and make it easier. Yeah. And then the third one is telemedicine for veterinarians. So our line is your Uncle Bernard has telemed. Your Saint Bernard should be able to have telemed.
Absolutely.
This is a loophole bill. In the state of Texas, it's already legal to do that. But the loophole is that vet has to have seen your animal once in person.
Got it.
So it's removing that loophole.
Yeah.
We have 51 counties in the state of Texas with no veterinarians.
Yeah. We
have older people that can't even physically get dogs and cats to the vet anymore.
Yeah.
So there obviously this adds a tool to the toolbox. It doesn't remove anything. It makes it more accessible if your dog has kennel cough. First of all, if your dog has kennel cough, you shouldn't be going to the vet anyway, and it's a highly contagious disease.
Exactly.
If God forbid you have a puppy that has parvo and you walk into your veterinarian's office or distemper, that it is going to be shut down once they diagnose it.
Yeah.
So there are things that do not have to be seen in person. Those are just examples of things that shut down vet offices.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a no-brainer. We're getting pushback from, I guess, Big Pharma with veterinarian, big pharma, from what I hear, which I won't go into details on
Yeah.
that because I don't have the specifics, but there's always the counter group lobbying
Sure.
against us. But anyway, those are our 3 bills. There's 200 bills or something, I think.
And I mean, I get to talk to people all the time who are like, I need to see a vet now. And like all the vets, I can only see 4 days out or.
This is the problem with moving to Galveston. In
Yeah.
Houston, we had like 3 different vets we could use if we couldn't get into one. And Galveston, we literally have
2, right?
Well, there's 3 vet offices, and there's a mobile vet now that we've become aware of that we've used. With our number of animals, we do like mobile vets if we can use them.
Yes.
But you usually can't get in that day, and that's a real issue. If you wind up at the emergency vet, you're spending a premium price on your vet care, as you know.
Yeah.
So and the nearest emergency vet's in League City to Galveston.
Sure, and it's hindering technological advancement in the field, which like the animal welfare field is already so far behind in that like we can all call up a doctor if we're coughing or something on telemed. What's the difference?
Well, if people can use it for their babies, why can't we use it for pets?
Right.
Because that's one of the arguments as well. A person can explain it. Well, a person can explain it for their baby as well.
That's
They
true.
can also explain it for their dog.
toddler, yeah.
I mean, these are vets that I think they've had 8 years of training in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
So these aren't just novices. So what we've learned is the trend is that the vets that really love this, they're like in office 3 days a week and doing telemed 2 days a week.
Right.
So this also makes it a wonderful business opportunity because the word on the street is that we have Texan veterinarians that are moving out of state and they're going to states that really do support the telemedicine.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Which is like the last thing we need as a state is our vets leaving.
Yeah.
Please don't leave.
Yeah, absolutely.
We should be being like, please come here. Yeah.
So we're trying to raise awareness about that. And that's one of the great things about becoming involved with THLN and signing up for the action alert so you are aware of what's going on.
Well, like you messaged me and I was like, absolutely. I threw it in my chat GPT. I was like, rewrite this, and it did. And I sent it and it, and
That's
I felt great for that. I was like, oh, I did something good today.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. I already love all of this that we've talked about, but you've been vocal about the need for more volunteers at Galveston Island Humane Society. What prompted that push and how can people get involved down there?
Well, I do it all the time, but I think you're referring to the bus incident.
Yes.
So for those that aren't aware, about 6 weeks or 7 weeks ago, a woman abandoned a school bus with 71 animals on that bus in Galveston State Park, crated and messes, as you can imagine. Who knows when they last had food and water. I don't have all the details of the case. I think it's in process right now, so I can't speak to what happened to her because that's everybody's first. What happened to this person?
Right.
But we took the bulk of those animals. The SPCA, I believe, took like 5 dogs that day, but we ended up with 50 something because some of them were cats. Of the 71 animals. So we absolutely did not have the capacity to take care of, to get the animals out to potty.
Right.
So we did a huge community outreach and, that's what's great about community. And I would safely say any community. I mean, I'm super proud of Galveston for this, but I think when people see
when crisis happens,
when crisis happens, people come to the fore.
Yeah.
And that was great because we got a lot of brand new people into the building that had never even been there.
Yeah.
So we have new dog walkers now. We're still in need. The need never goes away. But we did get a lot of people in there. And the whole idea was just raising awareness that, hey, you can come help us. Generally at the shelter at GIHS, you're required to attend a dog handling class before you can handle dogs, which just makes sense. It's good practice. But in that type of situation, we had to forego the class. We had put a dog on a leash and get them outside time.
Yeah.
So it got a lot of people up there, and now they are helping in various capacities. I mean, we didn't retain them all because that's not how crisis happens.
Yeah.
People come and help and they go back to their lives. But we
Right.
did retain some of them, and we raised awareness, and hopefully we can call on those people again.
Absolutely. That's like when we had our AC go out, like the first year we were at the adoption center. It was terrible. We had to evacuate everyone. But I got like so many foster families, and I was like, I don't ever want to go through that again. But it just, like you said, it goes to show you that people will rally when needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have to just call on them and say, we beg you.
Yeah.
We need your help to get us through this.
No, and I thought that you, like, the island handled that so beautifully. Yeah. The community came together really well. You guys got some like funding stuff too.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
All of that.
Big shout out to Francis Moody, who helped us raise over $200,000. So that's
insane.
That was an insane fundraiser that got planned in the moment of the crisis.
And I saw like the live videos and stuff, and I was like, look, like the whole city seemed to be there.
Yeah, it was a wonderful, moving experience.
Yeah, that
really got us over the hump.
Yeah, good job, Galveston. Awesome.
That's right.
Way to go. Okay. What do you think shelters need more of besides just donations?
Volunteers. In any capacity. Well, I'm going to say fosters. Volunteers, of course.
Yeah.
But hey, if you're fostering, that removes the animal from the premises. So you don't have to clean the crate, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to clean the kennel.
It really is like and like looking at it like from a capacity view, it's like an extra kennel. It's like an extra kennel you didn't build and you don't have to have an animal care technician taking care of that animal. It's extra freebie space.
Yeah, and it gives the staff time. I mean, we're not overstaffed at a city-run shelter.
No.
So it gives the staff time to do enrichment, which is what the dogs need. Because we have so many dogs, again, lined up in hallway crates that get zero enrichment. They're lucky if they have their Kong in there.
Yeah.
Or their Nylabone in there.
Yeah.
Which was my birthday fundraiser. I made sure every dog there got a Nylabone.
That's awesome.
The need never ends.
Yeah.
And
there's an example. Go buy some Nylabones for your shelter.
Absolutely. Do your own little fundraiser. Find out how many dogs Lifeline has.
Yeah.
And get a few extras and say, hey, I'm trying to raise money for 100 Nylabones or whatever it is. Let's make sure every dog has one, small to large sizes, and let's get those in by order them on Amazon, get them in by next week. So and then we've got people that are really good at the TikTok videos. Mm-hmm. So even if you can't foster, go up, make some TikTok videos of these animals, because we know that really does help animals get adopted. It does. So everybody's got their own thing they can do. If you don't want to even deal with animals, but you want to help your shelter, go wash dishes. That's something we always need the dog bowls and the kitten bowls washed every day. We do the thing where we tear the newspapers up for litter box liners and puppy liners and stuff. Come up and sort the newspaper. So you don't even have to interface with the animals if it's something you don't want to do for various reasons. Just come up and do some real menial tasks that help the staff out and allows the staff the opportunity to do better things with the animals.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool. I love that. Okay. And this is a fun one. We're getting close to the end. So what's one thing your current foster dog would say about you if they could talk?
She saved my life.
Oh.
She was on the youth list 3 times.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Because of no interest.
Yeah.
No fosters, no adopters. 200 days, I think, in the shelter.
Wow. Yeah. And you truly saved her life, and that's a good one. So what keeps you going during hard moments where maybe you can't save one?
Trust. Mm-hmm. You can only do what you can do. And then I'm a big fatalist at the end of the day. I just have to think to myself, if there's some reason I can't get this dog out or can't get it adopted or whatever it is, there's a reason.
Yeah.
I just don't know what it is.
That's yeah. You can't control everything, and hopefully everything has a purpose.
Yeah.
And we're fighting a war. That's one thing, Monica, friends from League City Animal Shelter, she told me one time, she's like, it's like a war, and there's casualties in war.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. Which is kind of intense, but true. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If we just get out there every day and do what we can.
Yeah. I always like to remind people too, it's gotten a lot better. When I first went to Austin Pets Alive, one of their conferences, like 2018, 2019, and there was a presentation on the history of animal control in like the 1800s.
Oh, yeah.
They just like round dogs up and drown them in the river. So
Yeah.
like we're not there, you
Yeah.
know. There's a lot of progress that's been made, and everything that we do matters.
Absolutely.
It does.
You know, in the South here, we're inundated
Yes.
with overpopulation and street crisis, which is why we transport animals to states that have strict spay-neuter laws.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a lot of great people doing a lot of great work on the spay and neuter front. And that's really ground zero for us to make a difference. If we could just get these backyard breeders to stop.
Do you have any thoughts on like responsible pet ownership too, like holding people accountable for that? I don't know. That's kind of off topic, but not off topic, but I didn't put it in my questions.
You mean like backyard breeders?
Not just backyard breeders, but just the person that I see this a lot. Like, oh, they got a dog, they're in the backyard. It gets out, they don't go and get it. They go get another dog. The same thing happens.
Well, I think what you're speaking to, I think shout out to Gloria from Barrio Dogs, because I think they're doing amazing work educating.
Yeah.
And Corridor Rescue does that as well. That's something we really need to start working on in Galveston, is the education branch of this, because some people grow up thinking that dogs aren't pets, that they're property. So then they get thrown in the yard, discarded. There's a mentality around that.
Yeah.
And we need to change the mentality. And that's not an easy process. Yeah, I mean, I would
like,
hope those people wouldn't have animals. But.
Sometimes, like, I get kind of like, ooh, like, we got to, like, you know, stick it to these people. Blah. But I know that a lot of it is education and a lot of it is people just don't know any better. But it's frustrating, like, man, so many dogs end up in the shelter with chips, microchips.
Yeah.
And nobody comes for them.
Oh, yeah. We had at least 2, if not more, of the dogs from the bus. We found the owner.
And that's amazing.
The owner didn't want them back.
Oh, the owner didn't want them back. Wow.
Supposedly the woman who was capturing these animals and driving them down from, I think West Texas, I might be wrong, was posing as a rescue. So she'd set up outside of a Walmart or something and ask for donations, and then say, if for any reason you want to surrender your animal, this is what I heard. So this is a little bit, that people would give them her dogs. So we had so many amazing, the animals from the bus were just.
We took 4 dogs from the bus.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And all of them have been perfectly great.
Yeah, they were all like surprisingly. I don't think she was. I certainly don't think she was physically abusing these animals. I think whatever was going on with her, she wasn't obviously feeding them there at the end and abandoned them, which was horrible. But none of them seemed to have human issues, if you know what I mean. But yeah, these were large dogs to small dogs. These were young dogs to senior dogs. Some of them were, schnauzers, or I mean, it
we
ran
had
the
like
gamut.
These 2 big old puppies that looked like mountain dogs.
Yeah,
they were cute.
It was
they were
crazy.
So cute though.
Yeah,
but yeah, we talked about this with Kim a few episodes back. But the dark underside of the rescue world of these independent rescuers who get very overwhelmed and animals end up in bad conditions. So that's another thing to always keep an eye out for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've heard the crazy stories. I actually don't have a personal experience with that, knock on wood, yet. But with pet sitters and things of that nature as well. I guess at the end of the day, vet your sources,
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that is...
Don't give your animal to a random person
absolutely.
at Walmart.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, okay. And just to end it, what's your dreams for animal rescue in Galveston over the next few years? And how can Galveston Island people or anybody who wants to get involved on the island help the local shelter?
Well, I've got a lot of dreams.
I feel you.
In different ways. If I keep it simple and I just focus on our shelter, I would love to see us eliminate the hallway crates and outfit the shelter so we have more dog runs.
Okay.
what I was really one of the things I was really inspired by at St. Hubert's that I just came back home from in New Jersey last week from the dog training is they have a huge behavior team. So they are constantly getting dogs out and doing enrichment. And I would love to see us go there. We have our in-house trainer, Trell, with Mutts with Manners. Shout out to Trell, who's a good friend of mine. She is a certified dog trainer.
Yeah.
And we were just discussing, hey, because I'm sharing with people what I learned. I'm not a certified dog trainer. I'm just sharing people what I learned in a week so they can help shelter dogs and or their own dogs at no cost, right? So Trell and I already talked about, hey, let's get together, start getting together with people, build our own little behavior team so we can benefit animals. It's so some of these things are so simple. It's just like mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like pattern games, the 1, 2, 3 treat game. It just gives a dog a little bit of of a mental game going on, but you're literally walking with the dog and saying 1, 2, 3 treat. Put a treat on the ground. Walk over here. 1, 2, 3 treat. It gets the dog to slow down, to look up at you, to pay attention. I mean, these simple little tools that you could just take a dog out for 30 minutes from the shelter and do something like that, and it gives them a little bit of fun and enrichment. This is just a small example of you don't have to take them on a 6-mile walk.
Yeah.
And in fact, you shouldn't. I learned as well, not at this training, but I'd heard this before, and I thought, wow, I never thought about that. We want people to take dogs out however they will do it.
Yeah.
But I would encourage people that like to walk dogs, don't think about getting your steps in. Take the dog on what they call a sniffari.
Yeah.
It's more enriching for the dog to stop every few feet and smell than trying to walk a distance.
Right.
And hit a goal.
Yeah.
Because the best thing you can do for a shelter dog is give them choices.
Yeah.
Let them decide which direction to go. Let them decide what to stop and sniff. And that just does wonders for them mentally and emotionally. So when they go back to the shelter, they have a little bit more optimism. And I was going to share this with you earlier because I was just listening to something about this, and I thought, wow, this is the message for volunteering and fostering and everything shelter related. Is the world's most famous tagline, Nike, just do it. And the most important word in that tagline is not do, it's just.
Yeah.
Because people stand on the sidelines and a lot of people think, I want to help, I don't know how. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just walk in the shelter, ask how you can help. Wash the dishes the first day, pet a dog, get some pictures. Just do it. The greatness is in the act. Just do it. Get out there, help, and start saving lives.
What a beautiful way to end. I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
And for all that you do for the animals in the county and on the island, and sounds like all over Houston. So
help where I can.
Help where you can.
Happily.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.